Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Danielle Ball. I'm a librarian in the Business and Economics Department at Los Angeles Public Library. Thank you so much for attending today's program, which is brought to you by the library and SCORE Los Angeles. Today's presentation topic is planning your 2025 financial goals with QuickBooks Online. As always, before I introduce our presenter, I do want to go over a few housekeeping items. First, as a reminder, we are recording this presentation and it will be available to watch later here on the library's YouTube channel. So don't worry too much about taking notes. Don't worry if you miss anything or need to leave early. You will have access to the presentation on YouTube. And of course, it will be available for you to share with your friends and colleagues. The other item is about questions. If you do have any questions for our presenter, we would love for you to ask them. And so what you're going to do is log into your YouTube account and type your questions into the chat box. Feel free to submit those questions at any point. However, keep in mind that we will hold off on answering them until after the presentation is done when we have our Q&A time. And so with that out of the way, I am very happy to introduce our presenter for today, Juliana Ramirez, President and CEO of JR Bookkeeping. Juliana is an accounting professional, entrepreneur, 20-year small business bookkeeper, workshop presenter, business advisor, community volunteer, and certified QuickBooks Online ProAdvisor. Juliana has trained and helped multiple small businesses, including her own. She takes pride in enabling clients to handle as much or as little of their business's accounting and bookkeeping as they desire. In 2017, she was featured as ProAdvisor of the Month on Intuit's Firm of the Future website. So thank you so much for being here, Juliana. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Danielle, and good afternoon, everybody. It is a pleasure to be here with you today, and my heart goes out to everyone affected by the fires. I hope that this presentation will bring you good insight into what you can do to move forward with 2025 financial goals using QuickBooks Online. And once again, the topic is planning your 2025 financial goals with QuickBooks Online. Today, we will cover closing out 2024 to prepare for 2025 planning. We will discuss why financial goal setting is crucial for your business. I will also cover how to create an effective budget for 2025, how utilizing QuickBooks Online to set, track, and achieve your financial goals. We will talk about actionable steps to monitor and adjust your progress. And of course, we will have an open Q&A, not necessarily with live demonstrations, but we will answer your questions at the end of this presentation. So let's get right into the topic. By the way, know that if you are using QuickBooks, if you are not using QuickBooks yet, or are still using the QuickBooks desktop version and are wondering how you can explore or how the QuickBooks Online software looks like, there is a sample company file that you can access by visiting the link on this slide, and or simply by doing a Google search or a browser search stating QuickBooks Online Test Drive. That will take you to a sample company of a QuickBooks Online test drive, and you'll be able to explore the software without first acquiring it or without having to pay. You'll be able to play around with it, do anything that you would want to test for your business. Now, closing out 2024, it's a key task in order for you to start strong for 2025. So it is important to close your books first. And why closing matters is because it ensures that financial data is accurate. This means that you have ensured that everything in your business has been accounted for. All your bank activity, all your credit card activity, or your cash transaction activity has been accounted for properly. It also identifies trends, successes, and challenges, particularly if you know that your business is a steady income and expenses, and or if you are a seasonal business. identifying what are those strengths, it's going to really help you identify where you have, been successful and where you have had challenges. And also, it sets a clean slate for goal setting and planning. You're not able to plan if you don't know how you've been or have you've done in the past. So it is important that you first close out last year, or in this case, 2024. Not only that, but it will also help you with being ready to file your taxes on a timely manner when that time comes. And we are starting a tax season, so that's also going to help you stay ahead, and be able to know what to expect when it comes to taxes and when it comes to, again, planning for this year. So the steps to close 2024 are as follows. You first need to reconcile all your accounts. These are all the accounts where bank activity or transaction activity has happened for your business. So if you have a bank account and or multiple of them, if you have a credit card or multiple of them, and or if you have a loan, again, any activity that has been processed through your business, including any activity or accounting for any activity that has been paid through a different source other than your bank, credit card, or loan accounts. This could potentially be um, transactions that have been paid with your own personal funds. For that, my recommendation is that you contact a tax professional and or a bookkeeping or accounting professional to help you know how you can account for that and make sure that you include that in your financials. Then the second item would be to review your profit and loss and balance sheet. Um, and this is after you've reconciled. Again, the reconciling process, it helps you to ensure that everything has been accounted for. Not only that it has been accounted for, but it has also been categorized properly. And by reviewing your profit and loss after you've reconciled and your balance sheet, it will ensure that you know again where your money has come from, where your money has gone, where you've spent it. And in the case of the balance sheet, since it's a report that states your financial position, you want to also make sure that you look at it for accuracy. For example, if in your balance sheet, you will see what you own. That means your bank balances, your assets, if you've acquired any of those of any equipment or any automobiles. You also will see any accounts receivable. Anything that you own should be listed on your balance sheet on the asset section. Also, for your liabilities, this is money you owe. You want to also ensure that the balances are showing correctly. And of course, your net worth. Your net worth in the balance sheet is going to show how much money you've contributed to your business, how much money you've taken out as a distribution or as an owner's draw, and of course, the income from last year. So you want to review these two reports, your profit and loss and your balance sheet, to ensure that they are accurate. You also want to make sure that all your transactions have been categorized. Especially QuickBooks Online gives you the ability to connect your bank account with your QuickBooks so that you can ensure all the activity is being posted accordingly. And you want to ensure too that you have cleared any outstanding invoices or bills. So for example, if you have a client that you have already rendered services to and they have paid for those services, ensure that those have been marked correctly, paid and or accounted for that payment. Or if you've rendered services and unfortunately you have not been paid for them and it has been a while, then determine if you need to write those invoices off. The same goes for bills, or in this case, vendor bills. You also want to ensure that if you've paid for an expense, that those bills are no longer outstanding or showing as unpaid on your books, and that if there is a credit due to you from your vendor, that you reflect that correctly. So you want to make sure that you clear those outstanding invoices or bills. And last but not least, make sure that you meet with your tax accountant or with an accounting professional for identifying any end of the year adjustments. These adjustments could include anything from writing off any assets that you no longer own, or in this case, remove those from your books, or it could include depreciation, or it could include anything that it is outside of your normal day-to-day operation bank activity. You want to meet with them to ensure that everything, again, has been accounted for and that those adjustments can be reflected. This is going to be, again, key to start strong with 2025. Now, one of the things that you can, once you know you have reviewed your financials, reflecting on your 2024 numbers to inform your 2025 goals is things that you can ask yourself. What went well financially in 2024? Where did the money come from? And what was um, the result of where that money came from? What services were the most profitable or the most popular? What services or products were that brought that income to our business? You can also identify what were the biggest challenges. You want to ensure that you identify those so that you know what adjustments or what changes you should make. And most importantly, did you meet your 2024 goals? Why or why not? It is important to look at your financials, look at how much money you've made, both on the gross sales and at the net profit. That's the bottom line after all your expenses. And set goals using that information. So if you met your 2024 goals, identify those and see how you can make that happen again, or if you need to identify a different goal. The reports that you can review are your profit and loss by comparing 2024 versus 2023. This is going to show you, again, either that increase or that decline in sales. It will also show you the increase or decline in expenses and the bottom line. You want to also look at an expense summary to be able to pinpoint your opportunities to reduce those costs. So, for example, there could be expenses that are no longer necessary in your business. Perhaps you were a startup and you had to acquire different softwares or had to pay for certain services to start, but you may no longer need those services. I often like to remind clients to look at their at their subscriptions of all sorts, especially software subscriptions. Those subscriptions that were helpful at the beginning when they were establishing the business, but are no longer being used or are no longer helpful or needed towards the end. Look at those cost opportunities so that you can reduce them. Also, look at the income by customer. This is to be able to identify your top clients and or your top sales and what are those areas. Startups, I like to recommend that you review your investments to help on growing on your growth efforts. So keep this in mind as you think about what you want to set your goals for 2025. Now, the importance of financial goal setting is to help us provide a clear roadmap for success. We can't really determine what are the things that we need to do if we don't know where we want to go or what we want to get to. So setting a financial goal will help you to have a clear roadmap for that. Also, it's going to help you to stay focused and accountable. If you had set a particular sales goal or a particular profit goal, looking at what that is on a regular basis will help you stay focused. And also, it will help you highlight opportunities and challenges early on, particularly right now at the beginning of the year. Now, some examples of financial goals could include increasing revenue by a particular percentage or reduce operating costs by also a particular percentage. You may want to build cash reserves or emergencies or growth on this particular month has brought challenges to, to Los Angeles. And, we want to be prepared. If you were, great. If you weren't, it's never late to start. For startups, it could help to, ensure that you focus on achieving profitability or securing funding milestones. This is if you are trying to develop a product or bringing in a new investor. What is your investor looking for, and where do you need to be at in order to bring in that additional funding? So these are, again, some examples of how you can set those financial goals. Now, it is important to create a budget. And a budget is a financial plan to allocate resources effectively. Now, the budget, it's not something that for it to limit you. A budget is there to help you really allocate and know where you're going to place your funds, or where you're going to place your expenses, how much you're going to expense in every category within your business, or how much money you plan to bring in, and what you can guess or expect or anticipate. So to create a budget, you want to use your insights from your 2024 reports. This is going to be very helpful so that you know where to start. This is going to be your starting point. So again, looking at your 2025 reports and 2024 reports, which is why I mentioned closing out 2024 is going to be the very first step. Um, Also, being able to identify what are your fixed versus variable expenses. Your fixed expenses are going to be those expenses that you have to pay no matter how much money you're bringing in sales or not. This could be your fixed expenses, could be something like your rent, your utilities, your subscriptions, your different services that you have and you need to be able to operate your business. So the fixed expenses are those expenses that you must pay to keep your doors open, no matter how much sales, and again, how much income or you have in your business. You also want to look at your variable expenses. These are expenses that are driven based on how much you're selling. This could be your these are your cost of goods sold. Again, these are expenses directly associated with the income you're bringing in. So, for example, if you're a restaurant, you know that in order to have your menu items, there are certain expenses or certain products or ingredients that you have to have on hand. But you don't always have to buy a big quantity, or if your sales are or your cost is going to be driven by your sales. So taking a look at what those expenses are and monitoring closely is going to really, again, help you. Pay attention in your 2024 reports and look at the different trends, like I mentioned before, to be able to identify which months perhaps were lower than others, or which weeks were lower than others. And your budget will help you with identifying or setting that allocating those resources accordingly. Again, it could be per month, per quarter, per week. Uh, that is going to, again, help you in categorizing and allocating those resources properly. Also, set realistic forecasting goals. Once again, knowing where you've been and what your trends have been. For example, if you're a startup company and you've started to see some increase, pay attention to what that increase percentage has been month over month or quarter over quarter, so that you can then apply that accordingly within your budget. So, for example, if you know that when you started your business, let's say you started in the first quarter of 2024, and you started very small with lower sales, of course, or with not a huge significant amount of sales, but come quarter two, as you started to get more known and started to promote your services or products, you saw an increase in sales. Um, And then you came to quarter three and you saw that you actually even grew even more. So you want to look at what was that trend? Was it 50%? Was it 100%? Was it, what percentage of growth do your reports reflect when you compare them month over month, quarter over quarter, or year over year? Now, once again, allocating funds for emergencies or growth opportunities is also going to be key to ensure that it's reflected on your budget. So for startups, using QuickBooks Online to track your burn rate and runway to ensure sustainability will also be helpful. For those of you who are startups and are not sure what that burn rate or run rate is, your burn rate is a financial metric that measures how quickly a company spends its cash reserves to cover expenses and generate positive cash flow. Again, if you're a startup, you might still not be experiencing that amount of sales that you expect. But you may have expenses that need to happen in order to start operating this business. So you want to be able to use this rate to help you understand how much cash you need to spend over time that you can measure monthly. And this metric, particularly again for startups and investors, it helps to know how long a company can operate before it needs to secure additional financing. So the importance of this burn rate is that it indicates its sustainability. If a company burns cash too fast, it risks running out of money and going out of business. So looking at that metric again could also it's also going to help you budget for 2025. Now, it is important to leverage QuickBooks Online. There are features that can help you succeed. There is the budgeting tool, which can help you set financial goals and track expenses. There's also the class tracking and tags feature within QuickBooks. This will help you organize income and expenses by department, goal, or project. You can also use custom reports or simply look at reports to monitor your cash flow, look at your profit and loss, and run a budget versus actuals report. And you can also use automation tools to set up reminders for recurring transactions that will help you save time. So for startups, maybe utilizing tagging to track different funding sources or projects would be a helpful tool. Now, I want to dive a little bit deeper into these tools. And so I have some examples here, or not examples, but screenshots of, what QuickBooks looks like. So for example, the budgeting tool within the settings gear at the top right corners of QuickBooks Online, for those users that have the Plus or advanced versions, you can find this tool or this feature within your QuickBooks Online. Again, this is available for Plus or advanced users. So look at what subscription you are paying for or you have signed up for, and ensure that if you want to use this tool, that you upgrade to the correct subscription. And again, when the way that you would access this budgeting tool is by going to your settings gear at the top right corner of your QuickBooks and look for that budgeting tool under tools. You will also be able to set up how you want to create your budget. You can do it based on your profit and loss or your balance sheet. Of course, the most common would be the profit and loss. So this is the feature I'm showing you here. Also, you want to select for what period you want to budget for, in this case for 2025. And you can also say if you want a combined budget or a subdivided budget. Now, what is the difference between a combined budget and a subdivided budget? I will touch on classes in just a minute. But in essence, is if you want to separate the types of income and expenses for a particular reason within your QuickBooks, let's say that you have services that you provide to two types of clients. You may have commercial clients and residential clients. Let's say you're a landscaper and you are providing those two services. You could turn on the class feature, which again, I'll show you in just a minute, um, you can turn on the classes feature and create a class for commercial and create a class for residential and be able to monitor the activity or categorize the activity based on the type uh, of income that you're bringing in from your commercial clients versus your residential clients, as well as any activity on your expense side. So that's where the subdivide comes in, because you'll be able to create a budget for each of those classes. And or if you just want to do a combined, if you're again a small business and you don't necessarily think that the classes apply to you, then you would do a combined budget. And again, QuickBooks allows you to use the data that is already in your books to create your this year's budget. So if you again have been in business for several years or have been in business since 2024 and you've been using QuickBooks, you'll be able to use actual data from within QuickBooks, which again, this is why it's important to ensure that your books are closed for 2024. Because then by using actuals from your 2024 books, you'll be able to create this budget. Once you have make those selections, you will be able to create your budget either for a whole year, so for the year as a whole, or you can create it for the year as quarterly and or as monthly. So you have the option to create a budget from your actual numbers within QuickBooks, either as a lump sum for the year, broken down by quarter, or broken down by month. And what QuickBooks does is uses your actual data to then put that information in your budget in this particular again tool, using this particular tool, and will create that budget for you. So you don't have to do any of the guessing other than identifying those trends and ensuring that within your budget you are updating those numbers here so that they can be reflected for moving forward. So again, actual data is the information that was there for the prior year. It's being used as a template to set your 2025 budget, but you can update those budget numbers manually directly into this tool so that you can then create that budget for 2025. Once you have created that budget, you'll be able to run a budget versus actual report or a budget overview. And once you have that budget created, and also as the activity is happening throughout the year, every month, you could then run this report to show where you're at actually versus what you have budgeted for the year. And that difference, if you're over budget and by how much, or if you're under budget and by how much, either on the amount, as an amount or as a percentage. So QuickBooks again helps you with this, with using the budgeting tool. Now I mentioned the class feature, and the class tracking tool within QuickBooks helps you to again track different sources of income and expenses. But before you can use that feature, you will need to turn it on. So you will need to go to your accounts and settings under advanced in QuickBooks, under advanced settings in QuickBooks, and look for the category section of QuickBooks. Notice how it's off right now in this slide, but then you will want to turn it on. And you can also ask QuickBooks to warn you so that moving forward, every transaction that you are recording in QuickBooks can be classified or can use that class. Not only can be classified, but it can warn you when you're missing that class. This is going to be key if you want to, in the future, look at this report and ensure that you've allocated, again, those funds both on the income side and on the expense side correctly. Once you have turned that on and ensure that it's on, then you'll be able to access your class list you'll obviously need to create your classes, your types of classes, but you'll be able to access those through the settings gear in looking at under all lists and clicking on classes, so that then you can come to this area within QuickBooks and create those classes. The sample here is, for example, I had mentioned if you're a service provider, and I said they use the example of the landscape, and let's say you want to track the activity for your commercial versus your residential, your classes will be named commercial versus residential. But if you, let's say, are a seller, a reseller of any product, and you have online sales versus store or in-person sales, your classes could be named those ways. And so this could be, again, if you are selling a product or selling products and you have those different sources. So this is also how you can track how much money is coming in from your online sales and how much money is coming in from your store or in person. And also, this will help you, or this should help you to identify your expenses as well. So every time you record a transaction that is part of your online activity sales or your store or in-person activities sales, you will classify those. You will use this class within the transaction to be able to separate that activity. You could also, this is an example for nonprofit organizations. They oftentimes need to track their fundraising, their general and administrative expenses or activity, and their program activity. So for nonprofits, having a class for fundraising, and again, both on the income and expenses, or the general and admin, and our programs. And you can also create sub classes within your regular classes. So for example, if you are a nonprofit organization and you have 3 different programs, you could still create a programs class and then create subclasses for each of the programs that are within your organization. Once again, this is a way or a feature that will help you identify the activity or isolate the activity for each of your sources of income and expenses within your business or organization. Now, QuickBooks also allows you to pull reports. I mentioned the profit and loss, I mentioned the balance sheet, and once again, I mentioned the statement of cash flows, as well as you can, make these reports your favorites, or you can also customize them. I want to once again go over really quick what the profit and loss gives us, what information we can see on the profit and loss, which is your income and expenses. When I say income, we're talking about your sales or your revenue, your total sources of all the income your business receives from sales. And it also shows your expenses, which is everything you need to pay for in order to operate your business, as well as your cost of goods sold. So your profit and loss gives you the result of your performance of your business. Your balance sheet is going to show what the financial position of the business is. Once again, it's going to show your assets, which is what you own, your liabilities, which is what you owe, and what your net worth is, which is how much money you've invested or taken out from the business, as well as what the result of your profit for a particular period has been. Your statement of cash flows is going to show you how the money moved, regardless if it was for income or expense activity and or some investments as well. And lastly, like I said, the recurring transactions tool is going to help you with automating or make these transactions recurring, so that it can save you time when you are recording your activity within QuickBooks. A good practice is that you record things as they're happening and or before they're going to hit the bank, so that when they finally hit the bank, they're already in your books. And not only that, but you can also have a pulse on where you are financially at any given time. Now, if you know that there are transactions that happen all the time and they're already on auto within your bank account, then you can make QuickBooks help you make that a recurring transaction, that it's so that it's recorded for you automatically and you don't have to do anything after you make that a recurring transaction. So QuickBooks does give you the ability to make that recurring transaction and set the dates of when you want that to start, how often you want to set that recurring transaction, what the next date that transaction is going to be used, and that amount. So it can add all those details. So those are those automated tools that are available within the QuickBooks software. Now, closing and planning in QuickBooks Online, it's important. I already mentioned that from the very beginning. Closing out 2024 by ensuring you have reconciled your bank accounts and run and review your year-end reports is going to be key. But then also setting up 2025 by going into the budgeting tool and creating the budget, and then assign the categories and send the monthly targets based on the trends and or your expectations for 2025, and saving this report so that you can then schedule regular reviews. And my recommendation is that you monitor your progress. And to be able to stay on track, my recommendation is that you do weekly check-ins, reviewing that budget versus actual and your cash flow reports so that you can see how things are going and making adjustments as needed. So that you can also account for any unexpected expenses or revenue changes. And focusing on your cash flow by using QuickBooks will also help you monitor real-time data. I mentioned this already. You want to record things as they're happening and or scheduling them before they actually happen in the bank, so that when you come to review your books, you can verify that what cleared in the bank is already accounted for in your QuickBooks. Think about it in this way. Let's say when you write a check, you write that, you make a note of that check that has been written, and you know you're waiting for it to clear. And once it clears, you check it off. QuickBooks gives you this ability. And that's what I would do when it comes to cash flow, ensuring that you're using that banking feature to mark that transaction or confirm that those transactions have cleared. So for a pro tip for startups is to track your customer acquisition cost and the lifetime value to guide your growth decisions. You want to make sure that you are looking at your products and services and your customers regularly so that you can see how this is going to drive your growth, decisions. And some action steps for 2025 would be that you can start doing today is to close out your 2024 financials completely, reflect on 2024, and set specific measurable goals for 2025, build a realistic budget using QuickBooks Online, commit to regular financial reviews and adjustments. And again, for startups, plan funding rounds, track your burn rate, and prepare for scaling. These are just immediate action steps that you can take so that you know that you once again are in the right track to see how 2025 is going to turn out for you. I do want to also share with you a resource, and this is an access to a year-end financial review checklist and tips. This financial review checklist will help you to ensure that you are closing out 2024 properly. And again, once that's done, creating a budget for 2025 and setting those goals will be much more easier because it's going to already have all the information for your 2024. So you're not just how to close your year end, but also a few more tips that you can access by scanning this QR code. And I know that this time has gone by so fast. I can't believe it's already 12:40. So I want to thank you for joining this presentation. And I now want to open it up for questions. My contact information is this on this slide. Please feel free to send me an email or contact me and or follow me on Instagram and Facebook.
All right. Thank you so much, Juliana. Um, very interesting, very inspiring for people to, get their finances in order. Um, QuickBooks Online sounds like it's extremely useful, extremely easy to use for the most part. And of course, there's experts like you that can help people who need help with it. I learned a lot of interesting terms like burn rate. I've never heard that before. So I always love learning something new during our presentations. So thank you so much. Obviously, this presentation is great timing because we're at the beginning of 2025. So this is a great time for folks to be able to get ready for the year and close out 2024, as you talked about. Also, you had touched on the fire and the disasters that we've been going through here in Los Angeles and the surrounding communities. I'm wondering for the first question, if you could talk about that. How would this apply to small business that has been, destroyed or significantly impacted by the fires?
Yes, this is, like I said, unprecedented times. And, it is unfortunate that, there is, an entire community or our entire community is being impacted in some way. You may have a business that has been significantly impacted. That means you've had to close your business is not there anymore, right? And or your customers are not there. Because they're being impacted as well. So for those businesses, this is where I want to encourage everyone to, get in contact with SCORE. Our mentors are here to help you navigate, all the resources available, as well as ensuring that you have a plan for where you get, where you can start. And so there are several, recovery disaster actions that I usually recommend. First and foremost, make sure that you check your county emergency or recovery website, and obviously you can go to your county and see what are those, what is that recovery. Um, Find your insurance policy and contact your insurance agent or insurance company immediately. You also want to check your business location and see if it's declared. Obviously, again, LA, has been declared as a disaster area. So make sure that your business is located, or if your home is located there. So you want to check FEMA as soon as possible so that you can, start accessing that resource. If reasonably possible, protect your property from, further damage, or simply collect backup or proof of loss documents, right? Hopefully you have them in some way electronically, perhaps. Make a list of the area or of all your damage or of your lost information. And of course, I already mentioned to, hopefully you had the information in some way, shape, or form electronically. And if you didn't, this is a very good time to establish what do you need to do, if to be able to recover this information. So maybe access to your bank, and pulling those bank statements, copies of your tax returns, maybe contacting your tax preparer to provide you copies of your prior year's tax returns. Make sure that you have those electronically. But again, most importantly, know that you're not alone, and that if I'm not able to provide all the information here today, that you can either reach out to me and or to your local SCORE chapter, to be assigned to a mentor and work with them to start navigating what are the next steps to your particular situation. Everyone's situation is going to, it's different, right? And make sure that you can make an assessment of where you're at. so that then you can identify what are those priority areas within either your business or your household, especially for those of you who were working from home, um, and and make that assessment so that then you can know what is going to be the most pressing that I need to really focus on. That would be my recommendation for those that have been impacted in some way or significantly.
Great. I'm going to just put the URL for SCORE back up again real quick for everybody to see. This is for the Los Angeles chapter. Of course, I know, Juliana, you are very involved in the Ventura County chapter, but you also do some great training for us here in LA. Just to touch on SCORE a little bit more, I know you mentioned they're a great resource for people that are being impacted by the fires. Could you just kind of talk about, in general, what SCORE is for our viewers who don't even know about SCORE, what it kind of is, and the fact that it's like a nationwide organization, and how you got involved, and what you do specifically with SCORE.
Yes, thank you. And SCORE is a nonprofit organization, is an allied and funded by the SBA. The SBA is the Small Business Administration. As you know, our tax dollars are used to fund this organization. So you are already paying for, the services that SCORE is providing for small businesses. So again, SCORE is an allied, or, one of the resource partners for the SBA. And what we do is we provide either free or low-cost mentoring services to small business owners and startups. We also provide resources such as information or contact to the different other resources within the SBA. And we do classes and trainings like this. So the most valuable, I would say, even though there's, again, a full array of services, is you can access resources directly on our website. It could be templates for different areas of your business, such as a business plan, or such as, different tools that are useful to operate your business, start a business, or even exit your business or close it properly. But you can also have access to, volunteers like myself who are experts in different areas. In my case, I'm an accounting consultant, so I, can help clients with anything related to accounting. There could be, tax accountants. There's also operators or business operators. There's an array of mentors who volunteer to share their expertise with business owners to help them navigate everything from the start of their business all the way to the exiting of their business. And again, resources either online, using templates, recordings of other topics, and or one-on-one consulting with mentors. That's mainly what SCORE is and what we are here to do. And there's over 10,000 volunteers nationwide, and there's different chapters within the different cities and counties. And you've already shared our website for the Los Angeles County, and that's how you can access a mentor through us.
Right. And just to follow up, we work, like I said, the library here, we work with the Los Angeles chapter a lot, but those mentors, if someone was here in Los Angeles and they were a startup and they found a mentor who was in another location, they could be matched with that person, right? Especially now,
Yes.
we do so many virtual meetings. Maybe 30 years ago, it wasn't, you kind of had to stick to your location. But if you did find like your perfect mentor somewhere else, that you could do that, correct?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
You can go to that, to that website, and you can click find a mentor, and you can even search by a keyword of the area that you're looking assistance with. And that could also give you a list of all the mentors that are available that you can pin directly and request to meet with them. Although you still want to go, you're still going to be taken through a process. We call it the intake process, to identify what your actual needs are, and if just accessing that mentor across the nation is good, or if you will um, b- um, be able to be paired with somebody that it's more local and you know um, familiar with our area. But it is a resource. I want to emphasize again that is free of cost. You're already paying for this assistance with your tax dollars. So these are your tax dollars at work.
Okay, great. Perfect. Thank you so much. Going back to the QuickBooks Online, the topic of today, you spoke a lot about closing out your 2024, reconciling it, and then using that information to kind of help with your budgeting going forward for 2025. So if someone is a brand new startup, hasn't even started at all, and they don't have any numbers from last year, is QuickBooks Online still, basically, should brand new startups use QuickBooks Online if they're not pulling from any data from last year?
That's an excellent question, and this is a common question from business owners, especially those startups. Like, when should I start using QuickBooks? And I always say you should start using an accounting software. Of course, QuickBooks is the one we're talking about here, but you should start using an accounting software as soon as your first expense for your business is. It could be your domain for your business, or it could be your logo or your fictitious business name or just a business license. As soon as you have that first expense, you want to implement an accounting system or start using an accounting system, which means that yes, QuickBooks can help you build. Obviously, my hope is that through the preparation of a business plan, you can do, you are encouraged to do some research about your industry and the type of business, the type of services, and the type of expenses that you're going to have, and do the research as what is the cost or the potential cost, either monthly, quarterly, or annually. And so once you've done that, quote unquote, work of identifying what are the expenses that you're going to expect to have for the year, you could then, like I said, the budgeting tool is, you don't have to use actual data. You can just build it from scratch by putting the numbers that or that you have found in your research, for knowing what type of expenses you're going to have. So it is definitely a very useful tool, and it will be helpful because you'll start navigating and implementing it as your business is getting established and you're starting already to see some activity in those expenses.
Great. Okay, and then another question, can QuickBooks Online be used for your personal finance, or is that just kind of way overkill? I know that you focus, you're helping businesses and startups and nonprofits, but this is kind of really geared toward business, correct?
It is mainly a business tool. It is designed for business purposes. Obviously, it handles everything from sales to expenses to, again, monitoring your assets. However, I have seen clients who have both a personal QuickBooks file for their personal household expenses and a QuickBooks file for their business. And they're separate. You're not supposed to commingle them or use one for both. But it is more of a business tool. But if you have a lot of activity, let's say you have rental properties and you want to use it for monitoring the activity of those rental properties, you could do that. If you're a property manager or a landlord, and you want to use QuickBooks, you could do that. But yeah, it's more of a business tool.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Let me see. I'm just looking to see if we have any other questions here. It looks like we've covered the questions. Very helpful. Just double checking. Any other last minute questions from our viewers? All right. I did just want to mention that, with regard to finance and all that, the library, for our viewers, keep checking back for our events. We have both, in-person events. Right now we're gearing up for tax season. We're going to have tax preparation at various locations. in these coming months,
Mhm.
and also for like live stream like this with presenters like Juliana. So for our viewers, please check our calendar. I also did want to mention that the library has, with even QuickBooks Online, we have a lot of books, a lot of other resources. So for those of you who, this presentation was very interesting to you, but you'd like to maybe do some more studying on your own before you invest in QuickBooks Online, or, you just need kind of a guide, the library has books and all that stuff. So you can go to our website and search the catalog. Also, I'm going to put up usually my email address is up here on screen and I'm not seeing it. So I'm going to add my email address real quick. So folks, if you would like to email me with any questions about resources at the library, or if you had any questions to follow up just about this presentation or score or any of the things you mentioned that you missed, you can go ahead and email me. So so thank you so much, Juliana, for joining us. We are just about a perfect time. And let's see. Oh, the small business. I forgot to share that. We have another minute.
I do want to just quickly
Small
mention,
business development centers. Thank you. Go ahead and touch
yes,
on that.
once again, the small business development centers are also, it's another affiliate of the SBA, and it's also a resource. The small business development centers do also assist with technical assistance. And it's also funded by our tax dollars, again, through the SBA. And so look at your local SBDC center, because they can also help you and pair you up with consultants like myself who can help you with technical assistance. And that means like the actual implementation of using QuickBooks Online, for instance. That's another great tool. So either your mentor could help, or one of your local SBDCs. I would contact them to also get assistance with training and, or again, resources, pairing you up with different consultants that are that are in different areas of your business. It's you can work with both SCORE and SBDC at the same time, because the needs could be immense in in a business, or are immense in a business. And so just know that that's a resource too.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. There are so many resources available for startups and existing business owners who need some assistance, and it's all kind of free and available because we're paying for those through our taxes, and so it's available for folks, and so please make use of them. And like I said, you can follow up with me, you can follow up with Juliana for our viewers, if you have any more questions about that. But anyway, so we are just about at time. We got to finish up. Thank you so much once again, Juliana, for being with us. And thank you to our viewers for joining us today. All right.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me. Have a good one.
Bye. You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye.